Today is Friday, July the 3rd, 2026. The time is 2:31 p.m. And I titled this one the subtle signs or these subtle signs of aggression towards these women. And these women being Jade Cargill of the WWE and Angel Reese of the WNBA. Now there's more, but I want to point out some things about these two women specifically, and then I'll move on to other examples, right? So when we look at the little subtle and microaggressions, and in some cases, flat out just straight up aggressions toward these women, they show up in signs like I've always been one to say, if you wanna see or you wanna hear racism in wrestling, number one, bring up black wrestlers. Just bring up a black wrestler, be it Trick Williams, Obafemi, Booker T, who else? Um, you can name them. But specifically, when you talk about Jade Cargill, I can remember because I was a part of this wrestling group, and I'm no longer a part of that group because the racism and the micro and macro aggressions is just I leave spaces that I don't feel respected in. I leave spaces that I'm uncomfortable. This is what I talk about with these people that be in my comments. They'll sit and they'll complain about my life. They'll sit and they'll have umpteen complaints about my life and how they don't like it and how my life just sucks, right? Their opinion. But one thing they never do, they never leave. Matter of fact, they come back and I'm sure I would be shocked that I'm gonna have some reoccurring ones that come in and they're gonna say the same things because it's like Groundhog Day, the movie with Bill Murray. It's like Groundhog Day almost in a sense with these people. The same day, every day, the same talking points, the same trying to diminish anything of value that they see from black people. Right? But when it comes to Jade Cargill, let's talk about Jade Cargill, who I absolutely love. Right? I love her persona. I love her mentality. I love how she maintains her blackness, even though she's in the WWE ran by Triple K. I mean Triple H. Right? And before I go into Jade Cargill, I was in a group, this wrestling group I was talking about, and Bianca Belair came up. I made a post and I said, I miss Bianca Belair. And I noticed it's always the white males in this case. Just like I always say, it's always the racist white males in my comments. They're always the most unhinged, insulting. This is what they do. But the first thing somebody brings up, now this is the little subtle things, but they disguise them as telling the truth, right? The first thing they say, well, I don't. She doesn't bring anything to the WWE. She's not that good. I even had one guy to say, "Oh well, I don't like her because she used affirmative action in college." And that was a way to minimize her achievements in the WWE because they always feel that you don't belong somewhere. Or if you got there, you got there on affirmative action or what's their thing now? DEI. You're a DEI hire. DEI. You only got it because you're black. Well, tell me why Linda McMahon got the job. Tell me why RFK Jr. always talks like he's pushing a turd out and the turd will never quite come out, but he's gonna keep trying to get the turd out. And why these people get these jobs? right? But they wanted to minimize Bianca Belair. If you don't like Bianca Belair, she's a perky, happy person. And I was like, yo. And so we had a back and forth thing. This is one of the reasons why I left that wrestling group. Because like I said, unlike these people in my comments, when I'm not feeling a space or I don't like that energy in that space, I leave and I never return. Right? So I posted it on my other platform, the pictures, and these are white males, little itty bitty noodle dick white males. And the one in particular, he decided to mock Bianca Belair. He has hair on on his head, like a woman. This is how far they will go to try to shame or devalue black women in spaces that they don't feel belong. Now they can do it to black people, but I'm speaking to black women at this point. At this point. And as I continue to go back and forth with a few of these bozos, one tells me, because it's always going to be a reason why they don't like them. It doesn't make sense, right? He says, I don't like her because she's dirty. He called Bianca Belair a dirty wrestler. He said that because I don't like her because she uses her hair as a weapon, and that should be illegal. And I said, you mean to tell me you're saying you don't like her because she uses her hair, in your opinion, as a weapon in an entertainment sport where they use brass knuckles, chairs, barbed wire bats, kendo sticks, um, whatever else, sledgehammers, Triple H. You don't like her because in your mind she uses her hair as a weapon. But you're okay. You're okay with them using brass knuckles, the ring bell, uh, exposing the turnbuckle when you're not around, low blows, eye gouges. But it's not about Bianca Belair. It's about her skin, right? And it's about them using these little micro things to validate what they're about to say or what they're currently saying about you. And to watch them say things about Jade Cargill. And when it's in juxtaposition to people like Rhea Ripley, right? So all of a sudden, Jade Cargill, she botches all over the place. That's one of their favorite things to say about Jade. She's stiff. She don't have many moves. She can't cut a promo. And I always say, well, tell me your favorite Tiffany Stratton promo. It's Tiffy time. Oh, she doesn't defend her belt. She's a coward. Well, you do know she's not in charge of booking, right? She doesn't book her own matches. You're pretending that they're trying to present her with matches and she's refusing to have the matches. But this is the things that they have to say as to why they don't like her. She can't wrestle. She's stiff. Sounds like Shayna Baszler. Sounds like a lot of these people, right? And I remember probably a couple of months ago, and I think I probably have erased the receipts, but I do have them on certain videos. And she exposed some of her inboxes. And these are flat on, these aren't subtle, these are direct shots. And I'm paraphrasing. Where one noodle dick white dude basically was like, I hate you black woman. And you can always tell when they're racist and they want to say something else, but they'll put hard emphasis on you black. Like the dude that was talking to Emmanuel Acho said, fucking, you think the blacks own the WNBA? And he told Jade Cargill, I'm paraphrasing, he told Jade Cargill that nobody likes her stupid black ass. And he hates her, and she's the worst thing that happens to wrestling, right? And there was another one that said, Hitler should have wiped out your filthy race. All right, this is what they'll tell a woman wrestler. And those are just some of the ones that she decided to share, saying that she needs to go back to the fields or whatever the hell they were saying. Like, and this is why we know, and I always say that we have to start classifying racist white supremacists or racism as a mental illness. We also have the power to define, not just them. We feel like that if it ain't popping or if they don't validate it, it holds no merit, right? Because you have to be mentally ill, and I've dealt with this myself, to where you have psychopathic white boys that will make several, several accounts. I counted up to 9 one time of a racist white dude that was harassing my life. And the more I would block him, guess what? The more he would come back with another one. Right? And this is not a normal mindset, but it's the mindset of America. So that's why it looks normal. And when we say things like, well, that's the way it always have been. See, we're normalizing it. We're minimizing it. We're downplaying it when we're saying, oh, well, that's just the way it's always been. You know, you can't do anything about that. That's the way it always have been. Because it's been going on so long that it's normal. And they will use her, Jade Cargill. And what I'm tired of seeing, and it's so hard to be a wrestling fan, and I haven't watched in a couple of weeks since probably. Um, it's been a few weeks. And I grew up a huge wrestling fan. See, this is the thing about wrestling, especially when you're a man of principle or a woman of principle. It makes you, you battle with things you just want to simply enjoy. But you see the treatment of black wrestlers, black athletes, and I'm a principled person. So again, like I said, like that room, if I don't feel something, I will detach from it. And it sucks because that's one of the things I would love to enjoy. This is why racism is stupid, right? Because it's smothering. It's smothering, it's suffocating, same thing. And it's designed to suck the fun out of everything, much like the WNBA. And speaking of the WNBA, notice whenever you bring up Angel Reese, again, here's the little aggressions or the little subtle things. Again, like I gave you with Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill, it's always little nonsensical things that they don't like about her. I don't like her attitude. Well, she's unprofessional. Ever since she did this to America's darling. Oh, she's a classless piece of the names that she have to be labeled. But when CC did it to Haley Van Lith, oh, that's passion. That's the fire within. That's her competitive nature. Because what did I say? Power is the ability to define something. It doesn't have to have proof. There's no real proof behind Trump derangement syndrome, but there is a deranged Trump. But there is zero real proof behind a Trump derangement syndrome. Zero. But this is why repetition is the mother of learning, because the more you repeat something, the more it can come true. And they say, well, you just have Trump derangement syndrome, right? Because in their system, they have the power to define whatever it is they want to. So, how these things works is they'll constantly try to minimize her, like snubbing her from the All Star. Okay, well, and I was talking to one of my bros, and he said, "Well, just if you just didn't want Angel, you mean to tell me no Atlanta Dream player made the All Star starters? You mean Ryan Howard, who's the steals leader, which means she has a defensive impact on the court, didn't make it? You mean Angel Reese, who leads in rebounds, didn't make it? And but what would they call them? Me bounds." Because it's about taking away from her. Well, she only gets the rebounds because of her misses. She gets all of her rebounds off of her misses. Again, no proof. When you look at the game, it doesn't indicate what they're saying, but they don't care about facts. They don't care about authenticity. They just want to define what they say it is. And again, you're racist for saying these things. Or you're weak because you won't handle our criticism. And I was telling that same brother of mine that my opinion, whose opinion, that my opinion that this is a part of the narrative shaping. Because they want to prove how in demand Caitlin Clark is, how she's this all-star starter. And I'm sure they may throw Angel Reese in there as a reserve. But see, with her fans or her stands or the clan, same thing. They don't care about that. That's going to be something to hang over her head to minimize her. Oh, she wasn't an all-star starter. Not paying attention to she's improved her game. Well, a lot of them said she's going to be out of the league because she doesn't take the game serious. She's on a podcast. I think she needs to worry more about her game instead of being on a podcast. Aaliyah Boston is on a podcast with Candace Parker, right? Aaliyah Boston is on a podcast weekly, right? As No Tan Tanner comes in and says, "Man, who gives a F, brother? You give a F to stop and comment." See, this is what I'm talking about. Like what I tell y'all every live, they prove my point. Because what did I say about that room that I didn't enjoy? What did I say about that room in the beginning of my live? I leave rooms that I don't like. I didn't stay in that room. If I didn't enjoy the energy and the conversation, I left and I never returned because I have the sense to leave something alone that I'm not enjoying. I don't bust in and say, well, who cares about your opinion? It's you're alive. But see, with their micro and their macro aggressions and their subtle and direct aggressions, they don't care because they've always been programming that they are the ultimate civilizers. and that it's always their divine right to just come in a space and tell you what they feel, and their opinions are always right. And they don't have to directly say it, they say it through their actions. They say it through those aggressions that I'm talking about. Who gives a okay, if you don't, then why stop and ask that stupid question? Right? Right? See, like I said, they still can't spell your because they proved my point from the beginning of my life. It's always the noodle dick, itty bitty tallywhacker dudes that they never have anything. They're always constantly degenerate. They always have to call names because they are mentally ill. What did I say about defining? We have to call these behaviors mentally ill. He's mentally unstable in my life. He's not a stable person, right? He's so bothered by me just speaking. They're bothered by Angel just existing. And the downside when I talk about it, it's see the thing that bothers me, and I will continue to speak up for Angel. I will continue to speak up for Jade Cargill because they don't have a system behind them, right? They have the fans. But when Angel Reese is out there getting roughed up, they don't stop and give media takes. Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, they don't stop and cry and demand because a white girl is down. Don't you see Karen is hurt? What the fuck is wrong with you people? There's none of that. See, they hate your black resilience. They hate that. Number one, they tried to slander Angel and call it me bounds, and she took it and turned it into something successful because she understands how to get it out of the mud. She has a tough skin. She has a tough champion demeanor on and off the court. She doesn't have to have a bunch of people rallying and crying for her and boomer science and saying she needs to go to the overseas so she's treated like royalty. Well, the physicality ain't gonna get no better over that boom. Right? But it's always something to minimize her. She won a championship. They said, "Oh well, she only won the championship. Doesn't won. It don't matter. She's a national champion. Doesn't matter how you look at it, right?" I agree, Tanner. Your ignorance is ruining the country, as he says. Ignorant ass ruining this country. Probably don't even know what he means because they're so degenerate. They can't even form words properly. Because that's how much they want to spew their venom. They can't even think straight. But guess what? Tanner ain't going nowhere. He's sitting here listening at everything. Nobody gives a fuck about your racist antics. I told you, what did I say? They will not throw around that word loosely because racism to them, because they can't experience it. Tanner can't experience it. Just like he can't experience a real tan. That's why they named him Tanner. Because they wanted him to become Tanner. They can't experience it, so they have to go around and throw the word around loosely and say that if you're standing up for yourself or if you're speaking on something I don't agree with, you're racist, bucko. White folks love to call you bucko. See here, bucko. Who the fuck is bucko? Right? But it's a mental illness. Notice what I'm saying. Listen to my live now. Notice what I've said, but he hasn't gone anywhere. He's just staying there like a irritating jackass. Right? See, being racist, brother. We don't date that. He said we don't date that D-A-Y. I told you because they can't form proper sentences. Then he said say because he realizes his stupidity. He realizes he's in a hurry because he just wants to rush to insult. See, a fool has to say something when a wise man knows when to say something. A fool has to speak. Right? We don't date that. uh, Tanner, no matter how much you lay in the sun, you're not gonna get Tanner like you because nobody else in here. I don't care. Guess who? What? Guess who in here, Tanner? Your stupid self. Right? See, you're about a spectator. I don't care. I appreciate everybody except you and the ones that think like you, Tanner. But he ain't left. Notice what I said about the mentally ill. The mentally ill, it's almost like a stalker, right? It's almost like an obsession, right? They have to watch you. You don't know they exist, nor do you care of their existence. But they have to be right here. Because what did I say about the white man's birth? What did I say about them? They're always the ultimate in their mind. Whose mind? In their minds, they're always the ultimate authoritarians. That's why they'll want to tell you you need to go back to a place. If you don't like somewhere, you leave. Notice they always tell you to leave, and they never know how to leave. If you don't like it here, you leave. Because that's the weird psychopathic nature, right? Notice I still stay within a calm demeanor no matter how much they do this shit every day. What did I say in the beginning? It's like Groundhog Day. They do the same thing. It might be different names. It might be a Billy Bob, a Dusty, a Rusty, a Musty, but the behavior is always going to be the same because it's infectious, right? They're like an infection. They're like a pus. See, Tanner is like pus. He's like an infectious boil, right? He's a contamination. So everything he touches, and if he has children, they'll be contaminated because he doesn't have anything of value up here to say. He's not a smart person. So not only are racists mentally ill, but they're mentally challenged as well. And that's not a knock to anybody that has a real mental illness, because mental illness is a serious thing, right? But they're mentally ill, much like their president, who had a conversation with Theodore Roosevelt, by the way. I said, what a freaking embarrassment. And he runs around talking about he had a conversation with Theodore Roosevelt because this is the normalized behavior. But if it was Biden, the name they love to call, and Biden is sitting up here pretending he's talking to Theodore Roosevelt and he's going around talking about he had a conversation with Theodore Roosevelt, they would be trying to commit him. They would be saying, please, commit him. He's not mentally stable. He's not fit to be the president. He's mentally ill. Look at him. He think he's talking to Teddy Roosevelt. But it's always this is why it's pointless talking to them because they put everything into situational views. Tanner keeps typing. I ain't listening. I pay attention to when I want to pay attention. You have to treat them insignificant like they are. See, they have a colonized mindset. They have a colonizer's mindset, right? So their thing is to they don't like what in their minds they think is resistant, right? Says the guy with the undeveloped prefrontal cortex and 20% ghost genes, says the Neanderthal. Right? He won't accept facts, Bobby. I told you it's always a Bobby. Bobby. It's always the Bobbies and the Biffs and the Tanners and the Connors and the Austins. Connor. No, I'm a fuck white when his name's Connor. He won't accept facts. We can't colonize him, i.e., right? So the microaggressions toward Jade Cargill is infectious because these are the same type of behaviors that are in her inbox, calling her the N word. We don't like the way you wrestle, so we're gonna call you the N word. And then when you push back, we're gonna call you racist for pushing back because why aren't you accepting our cruelty and our insults? What's wrong with you people? They love to call you you people. Well, like I said, or you blacks. What's wrong with you blacks? Insignificant. Huh, Bobby? They're ridiculous. Right? But that's their nature. That's why America looks the way it is. This has always been the nature of America. But when Dookie called it great, that's what he meant. He wanted to get back to the state where people like Bobby and Tanner, who don't have a tan, run around and do this, right? Because they want to go back to normalizing the behavior. Notice, like I said, I came across another lipless one, and he was sitting in his room like a loser, and he was having a meltdown about how nice they have been, and it's time to take their country back because they always feel that they're losing something because they're losers, like Tanner with no tan and Bobby, right? And like I said, because they're psychopathic, they always have to be bothered by something. So they always need a cause. That's why I told them the other day, you guys don't care about Caitlin Clark. She's just a conduit for your hatred. She's just a vehicle for you to get behind and you use her. And she allows herself to be used because that's the way she was raised. That's why she hangs out with Morgan Wallen. So when they're asking her to address racism, threats, all of these things. She's never going to directly address them because she benefits from it, right? But we're always taught to just hold your head up, just play through it, Angel. That's why we're tougher. That's why we don't care about little noodle dicks, right? I told you, remember what I said? Now, me setting the tone in the beginning of this live and telling you about mental illness as Tanner keeps typing, right? Notice what I've said. Now, mind you, how many times have I said he still hasn't gone anywhere? Mentally healthy people don't do this. You have to understand what you're dealing with every day. Every day on my life, every day. It's just a different person. And I use that word very loosely. See, civil white people don't do this. If they don't like my live, guess what they do? They just keep strolling. But it's always the ones, like I said, the Billy Bobs, right? As he types away. Because they have to tell you how ignorant you are and how delusional you are and how much of a backwards thinker you are. But if I had an American flag behind me and I was talking about how great Dookie has made America, Tanner would have a whole different tone. He said, right on, brother. I'm going to invite you over for some potato salad and walnuts and raisins. It doesn't have season because we don't know about season. But right on, brother. You're telling the truth, brother. Because they feel like they're the supreme authority, no matter how bottom of the barrel they are. And it was an honest white guy that I was listening to on another respected brother of mine's live, and he actually said something honest, and he said, "Well, at least I get to wake up white," and that's his reality, right? Not bugging on his reality. That's his reality. Because I feel like, to me, in his statement, he realizes the privilege that he has, right? He realizes he's able to do things. So that's why he enjoys it. No, not. That's him. I love to wake up black. I love my skin. It's so beautiful, right? But see, when you understand psychopathic nature and the psychopaths, I would give away books. I give away a ton of books. Depends on what platform you catch me on. But when here, it's a bunch of inbreds with no lips. So it's not much I want to feed them, right? It's not much I want to feed their inbred minds, because that's how we can help them be even more conniving. Because the thing, and I always tell my people about this whole John Brown complex, and my people get caught up in white people that sound decent and say humane things. This is how inhumane these people are, that when you do have the ones that say something that is looked at as humane, we're like, oh wow, oh, we accept you. But guess what? If they sound humane to people like Bobby and Tanner, now Tanner is melting down just putting Trump in my thing. See this? This is not normal. Trump, Trump, Trump. Yeah. There you go. I'm human. No, you're humankind. You're kind of human. You're mankind. You're kind of a man, right? See, it's not really clear on it. You're like it. You are a Neanderthal, right? So there's not much you can get there. But to watch how they do, and to watch how they get in, just these young ladies. Jade Cargill is a beautiful woman. Very beautiful. Now I like Bianca Belair, but Jade Cargill is top shelf. But they hate her. They hate her because of her attitude, because she's not off black. She's not an alternative black. She's strong. So when you're strong, they want to break that, right? Like I said, just like if I was talking like Jason Whitlock and Stephen A., they would not be saying these things in my comments. Only the worst of the worst of the worst. Like I brought up Myron Gaines when they tried to give him his wake up call, and he still don't hear it because he thinks that, that they will accept him. And I was appreciative of those racist white guys giving him his wake up call. See, I understand the space that I'm in. So, you know, but see what the idiot Myron Gaines doesn't understand is that no matter how much he tries to diss black people, no matter how much he tries to pretend he's one of the good ones with melanin, like that racist white boy told him, what are you going to do? And I have to always repeat and echo this. See, the ones that are clear on who they are, they said, well, this is the problem with working with non whites. that after you get through helping Myron, where you're going to go because it's not safe for you. But see, Myron Gaines is mentally ill. This is also the same thing of the house Negro. Because no matter how they are abused, they still don't want to take that Massa really don't love them. It's like they're in an abusive relationship because they want to believe because he gave them some crumbs. That was a token of love. Right? So no matter how hard Stephen A tries to go after Jaylen Brown, because that's his job to be their ESPN's attack dog. That's Kendrick Perkins' job to be the big Saint Bernard attack dog. Right? And we've never seen Jaylen Brown be uncoachable. But see, it's the thing about when you're an intelligent black man. And notice they say, well, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He's never said that. He's never said that one time. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And we've had people to say, he's never said that. You think he thinks he's the smartest guy. Right? But we've never heard anybody complain about Jaylen Brown's behavior. We've never seen Jaylen Brown arguing, dismissing the coach, having a disruptive moment on the sideline with his coach. But you know who we have seen? Caitlin Clark. But it's about the narrative. What did he also expose? Jaylen Brown also said ESPN pushes narratives. So the narrative is when Caitlin Clark is behaving like a little Karen or a child or a school pum. Is that it's passion. It's the fire. It's her competitive nature. Jaylen Brown is a finals MVP. Never heard nothing about him. Never heard about him talking down to his teammates. But it's not about what you are. It's about what this thing paints you as. And Stephen A. Smith, because he gets paid a handsome ransom, and he's one of those, you show is kind. One thing, he will allow Dookie Dunny to insult him and say, well, I did deserve it because he's not built like that. He's a step stool. And he allows them to place their feet on him. He loves it. If Dookie invited him to cut his toenails, he'd be over there with his feet in his lap because that's what he is. So they don't like when you are resistant, right? They don't like that. They don't like that you're strong. And that's what Jade Cargill represents. She has attitude that I love. And they don't like that because that's threatening, because that's not something that they feel like they can control. Because you're not people when it comes to them. You're objects that need to be controlled. You're suspects. You're objects. You're things that they need to control. Right? So it's always the way of how you have to look at this thing. And that's why I do what I do. I don't care about these bozos in my comments. I've been dealing with this for a long time. Expert with it. See, reading severely damages your ignorance. As I had the stupid jackass in my comments yesterday that said, you can read? Because they just have to say shit like this. And they still can't spell the difference or know the difference between your and your. But that doesn't matter because I'm the stupid one. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter they can't spell. What I need to spell for? I'm white. I'm white and I'm a redneck. And Donald Trump tells me that America is great. And I'm white. And you need to respect my whiteness. They're jokes, absolute jokes. Bobby says, you can only succeed by having proximity to Europeans. So sad. And stop speaking my language. I told you, no brain cells. No brain cells. Yet he's in here with me. Again, I'm going to just keep saying that. So this is why we have to let go this whole fantasy of coming together. You can't come together with Bobby. You can't come together with Tanner with no tan. You can't come together with these other ones that's in my life. They don't want to. Their brains aren't developed enough to understand that. See, for me to give Tanner a common sense rebuttal dilutes my common sense. Because there's nothing commonsensical that will come from him if I would negate him or rebuttal him with a fact. They don't understand facts. They understand Fox News, what Trump tells them, what they've been downloaded and programmed with their entire lives. This is what when I speak to y'all, I'm not worried about these losers. I always say what I'm speaking to the ones that's gonna come back across this video later on. It's pointless. Do not waste your time trying to get through to these people. It's impossible. We've seen people try and fail over and over and over. Because in order to have a successful conversation, you have to have a people that live in a level of reality. Right? What I always say, what have I been using as my example? It's like trying to talk to this pen. Hey, pen, do not behave like that. And actually, what do I always say? The pen has more sense. Because watch this, lay there. I expect the pen to do what it does. Right? There's not much logic you're gonna get out of trying to appeal. They can sit in my comments because uh, mm, but to attempt to have a real conversation, no, it's a useless thing and it's a waste of your energy. Speaking to the people that will listen. You have to understand when you are around a drainer, and that's all they are. That's all these racist yo-yo hillbillies are, drainers, right? So, see, he don't even understand. He don't understand that I said the ones that will listen in the future. Told you, they can't even comprehend because he doesn't understand that when you post your video, people can actually watch it at a later time. That's what I'm saying. Not smart. I've told y'all, my people, we give these people too much credit. We have to stop thinking because they have white skin, they're intelligent. Because they're given 1,000 yard or 1,000 feet advantage, they're intelligent. Because they have access or top first picks and things that they are intelligent. He doesn't even know how to use his whiteness correctly. But guess what? For the what fifth, sixth, seventh time, guess what? He's still where? Here. Because he's not intelligent enough to understand, as he says, we are the only people listening, dummy. He doesn't understand that when I post videos, the numbers shoots up later on because people will. listen later on. So therefore, I'm not just gonna talk for, even though I'm talking in the moment, you also speak to the future. Notice my demeanor is still the same. See, this is what bothered them, a calm black man that just don't give a fuck about really what they're talking about. Guess what? I don't even care, because usually when I used to do my videos, it would be nobody. Because I know why I'm posting. But again, for the whatever time, they're still here. And it's okay for what it's worth. Yeah. But they don't have enough balls because they're noodle dicks. And their women are saggy tits. Right? They don't have enough balls to go live and speak their views. Because they always have to be faceless. What do I always say? They are their ancestors. So they have to hide behind anonymous accounts. They're not brave enough to show their ugly faces. Why? Because they need to deceive you, because they have jobs somewhere that they have to pretend that they care. Because they're never themselves. They're always cowards. That's why they have to hide behind sheets, mask, anonymous profiles. And we're just direct. You see my face. Because they're not men. Their parents are failures. Their ancestors are cowards. And they know this. But they have to maintain the lie that granddad is some wise hero. Granddad ain't shit. Your granddad ain't shit. Y'all white people ancestors ain't squat. Right? But that's my time. I just wanted to share my POV of why they just behave. The microaggressions and the flat out aggression. Because they're just a bunch of aggressive animals. But that's all I got. If you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate it.